Oma, I forgot the time. Oma Min. At 10, that's right.
Yes.
At 10 o'clock, that's right. Because I forgot the time. Okay, I will going to have breakfast before.
Yes, I have breakfast.
Because today you are you MC, that's right.
I am excited.
Yeah, don't worry, because Dr. Ashok, he very friendly and very kind. Yes, yes, because last time. Yes, because
I think
last
Dr.
time.
Ashok.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Ashok is.
He's very kind.
Oh yes.
Because last time I was MC in his room before. Yes.
You have experience.
Yeah. I have.
You have experience.
Last time on the 14th. Yeah. On the 14th. Then I will check the time again. At 10, that's right.
Yes.
At 10. 1 hour.
At 10. 9.
Daytime.
9. Yes. 10. It's early.
Okay, I will check. Oh, the webinar will start at 10. Maybe about waiting for around 1 hour. Yeah, I have to eat something. Yeah. See you later. Okay, I will go to have something to eat. Yeah.
Hello, teacher. Channel block. Who said channel block?
Good morning, Cam. Good morning, Yimanshu. Very good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Professor Dr. Kampilapap.
Can you hear me, right? Mon?
Yes.
Okay. That you take a look at Dr. Ashok's CV, right? Resume.
Yes, I did. I prepared it last night.
Yes. He now he director of advanced study in English.
In Pune, India.
Yes. Yes.
Pune University or Pune, just Pune?
They changed many times. Now we just call Pune University. Pune U only. Pune University.
Okay, Pune.
You can mention him director only.
Yes.
In recently position now.
Yes.
He founded.
Director of Institute of Advanced Studies in English.
Yes.
Professor, we will have the thankful message by Mr. Dean at 10. At 10, and after that will be the session by the guest speaker from 10 to 2, right? From 10 to 1. From 10 to 1.
Yes.
And
about 3 hours during
his
lectures.
Yes. And after the session at 1, okay, 1 to 2 will be lunch break, right? Lunch break. Yes. And after that to the dean, Mr. Dean will have a meeting with the PhD student.
Yes. During three hour period, we can have a break during one hour.
We can have 1 hour.
Just 1.5 hour we can break. Maybe 11:30.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, 11:30 break, and after that we're going on.
Okay, Professor. 11:30 will be the coffee break.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
During his lecture, can raise the questions. Participant or ELT learners or our ELT class can discuss with Dr. Ashok.
Yes.
You PMC with Omawin, right?
On Mawin, yes.
Yes.
We prepare yesterday. Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Don't forget to remind our friends related to question.
Yes, we prepare
After,
already.
Yes.
We will remind them before the thankful message a little.
Okay.
Professor, where are you? Where are you online now?
At my area, my home now.
Okay.
With two naughty young kids. They interrupt very frequently.
Yimon,
She get better now. Yimon show.
Because she is not comfortable to turn on the camera. It's not feel good.
Mr. Chomyong. Chomyong. You have to very thanks indeed to Dr. Ashok because your article was published in his journal and you get promotion assistant professors from his journal, his conference. Very advanced for you.
Wow. Next time, let me publish too. Can I, Professor? I would like to publish, but I don't have the, what is it? Don't have the article, the interesting article now. Yes. Ajahn Somyong will submit for the associate soon.
After 2 years.
After 2 years.
After 2 years, I will start.
You are so good. You have more time to collect and prepare your works. Yeah.
But not now. I don't have time to manage my life. I cannot manage my life because there are so many things to do.
Okay, 15 minutes left. Let me take time to practice a
Okay.
bit. Yes.
Okay.
เดี๋ยวซ้อมก่อนนิดนึงนะครับ
แล้วจะเข้ายังไงล่ะเนี่ยดูภาพก็ไปใส่หาดูเห็นแล้วใส่ Okay, no.
Morning สวัสดีครับอาจารย์สมยง How are you this morning
สวัสดีครับโอ้ย
Good morning อาจารย์ออนมาวิน Good morning อาจารย์ James Good morning ครับ
Morning
How are you today อาจารย์ออนมาวิน Did you sleep well last night You have a good dream
Yes sleep soundly
It's my great honor to be the MC with you today it's my yeah I love it to have the experience with the teachers or the scholar from abroad from other countries yes.
I can hear well I can hear well. My laptop is the sound is a little problem.
Oh, you mean you cannot hear really well, right?
Yes.
Don't worry. We can hear you really clearly. We can hear you anyway. Yes.
Yes.
อาจารย์ Mary มิงกะลาบา
อิงกลาบาสวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ Wow, you speak Thai very well. อาจารย์ Mary can you hear me really clearly?
very clearly.
Okay, yes, thank you.
How can we say very clearly in Thai?
ชัดเจน
ชัด
มาก
เจน ชัดเจนมาก
Okay, good morning ครับอาจารย์เจมส์
Morning อาจารย์ศิริศักดิ์ Morning everyone I'm doing well I'm preparing my coffee here and also the cannabis tea
Do you drink coffee every morning อาจารย์เจมส์
every day but not in the morning time yes usually at noon or in the afternoon
Okay, you like hot or with ice?
I prefer iced
Oh, really?
yes but when I make myself I can have only hot because I don't have ice at my house.
Okay, I see.
How many cups of coffee do you have a day?
About 2, yes. At least 1, at most 2.
For me, at least 2.
Oh, อาจารย์ Mary like drinking coffee as well, right?
In the morning and after lunch.
Do you make it yourself? Yes, right. Okay, me too.
Yes.
I make it. I make the coffee myself too in the morning.
Ajahn Sirisak, when you hear my voice from my microphone, okay. Yes. Everyone say it's clear, but it's clear. How is it clear? Clear with noise or without any noise?
Is clear, but it have some like echo, I think. A little echo, but it's okay. It's really clear. Maybe you live in the room. I think you stay in the room, the concrete room, so it's a bit echo. But that's fine. That no side noise. No side noise. That's clear. Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Professor Gambi.
Ajahn On
Good
Marvin.
morning. Good.
Yes. Professor Dr. Kampi gave us the questions already. I send you inbox and also in the line. Professor Dr. Kampi Lapap send us. Yes. Please check it.
Yes.
I can find 2 questions.
I think we didn't get the PowerPoint slide of yesterday.
From yesterday we didn't get it. We didn't get it because the guest speaker did not allow us to get the file. Yes, because there are some rights. Yes.
Copyright.
Yes, that's right. Because there are some copyrights. Yeah, in the content. I think yes, but that file we can. What is it? We can learn from our note. Yes, we take note.
From our brain.
From our memory. Ajahn Mary, you are so keen about what is it? Noting. I think you can remember, most of the content.
Thank you. You are so kind.
Pimon.
Yes. Yes.
Can you just ask for yesterday recorder from our admin, ka?
Oh yes. Okay.
I will send in our Line group now.
Yes. Thank you, Professor.
For the record. Yesterday webinar.
Good morning ค่ะอาจารย์ ยังไม่ทักทายอาจารย์ โอ้ยหนาวทำไมหนูหนาวอยู่คนเดียวเนี่ย
Professor Dr. Kampi ครับ Can we start now or we wait for the guest speaker ครับ
Yes. Wait for guest speaker. I remind him.
Yes.
Just a minute ago.
Okay.
He will join us.
อาจารย์คัมภีร์ครับ What time is it now in India ค่ะ
Ida, if
Nearly 8:13 now.
Yes อาจารย์อ้อมมา
cold, very cold.
Yes I am at HUSOC-BRU area I am in HUSOC-BRU area my hometown
Wow, but the internet connection is very well. I think it's
I
really good.
paid nearly 1,000 baht per month
บ้านนอก
You
คนอยู่บ้านนอก
install the internet. That's good.
อาจารย์โอมา you look very beautiful today
Yes, I am excited, little excited.
Just our friends
You have good trainer like Ajahn Sirisak. He's a good trainer.
Thank you. I just share some information only.
Imon how about you ค่ะ Imon
Good morning, Ka.
how
Good
about
morning,
you
everyone. Yes, I
are you better
feel better now.
good to hear that you get better
So next week, I can very well.
okay don't be serious just take care of yourself
I miss all of you.
you can listen to our voice
Hello, can you hear me?
you can just observe our face when we smile
You miss our voice? Okay, so Jida, please sing one song for Yimon.
you prepare some music for me the karaoke one
You can sing the chant song. Yes.
Which version do you want to hear คะพี่เจมส์
The version for washing your hands to protect COVID-19.
Why
20 seconds for the chant song.
Jan Jida good at singing and dancing as well. Yes. She is professional.
it means that next semester that we enroll the how to say seminar course, right? Okay, we have to plan for a trip to the sea and do some activity together. And Pimon, I have a chance to be the singer and I will be the dancer. Ajahn James, would you like to be the singer or the dancer?
I prefer to be a drinker.
Model.
Ajahn Mary, how about you? Would you like to be a dancer or the singer?
Dancer, I can dance very well.
Wow. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Very good morning, sir. Can you hear our voice?
Yes, we can hear.
Yes.
Yes, now Dr. Ashok coming in with us.
Hello.
Yes.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Clear.
Good, good.
Okay. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and very warm welcome to the webinar, Intercultural Communication on the Perspectives on Discourse Analysis. I'm Assistant Professor Siddhisak-Phong Phirhi. Yes, Ajahn Onmawin.
Yes, I am Onmawin from Myanmar. We are PhD students in ELT, English Language Teaching Program, Faculty of Humanities and Social Science, Buriram Rajabhat University, Thailand. This webinar, Intercultural Communication in the Perspectives on Discourse Analysis, is held today by PhD in English Language Teaching, ELT Program, Faculty of Humanities and Social Science, Buriram Rajabhat University, Thailand.
Okay. Today we have a very special guest speaker, Dr. Ashok Thorat, the Director of Institute of Advanced Studies in English, Pune, India. And I'm very sure that all the participants in this webinar will gain more knowledge, technique, and information in terms of intercultural communication in the perspective on discourse analysis, because our guest speaker today is the specialist in intercultural communications and pragmatics. Next, I would like to inform all participants about the activities in this webinar. Okay, at 10, we will start with a thankful message delivered by the Dean, our Dean. Okay, and after that will be the sessions by the guest speaker, Dr. Ashok. And at 11:30, okay, one and a half past, we will have a coffee break. And after that, we will continue our session until 1 p.m. Yes, and we will have a break at 1 to 2 p.m. Yes, and at 2:30, we will have a small meeting with our Dean. Yes. Anyway, the webinar will end at 1 p.m. Yes, we have 3 hours for the webinar today. Yes, Ajahn Onmawin.
Yes, the webinar carried out today is for the PhD in ELT students. So please answer the following questions relevant to the topic delivered by our guest speaker, given by our professor. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a good time now. May I invite Associate Professor Dr. Ashok Wittgenstein, Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Social Science, Buriram Rajabhat Universities, to deliver a thankful message to the guest speaker, Dr.Ashok Thorat, please.
Namaskar, Professor Dr. Ashok.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much for your invariable time being with us today. So our BRU President, Associate Professor Malini Jatopama, just informed by me that Dr. Ashok is coming to deliver a very special talk. She said that please send her thankful message to Professor Ashok. Unfortunately, she was engaged with other meeting.
Please thank her on my behalf.
Yes, sir. So I coming today on behalf of the BRU President, and also on behalf of the Dean of the Faculties of Humanities and Social Sciences, and the last on behalf of the curriculum chairman. All right, now I'm wearing so many hats as the Dean, as the head of the curriculum, but my students and my colleagues just know me as a lecturer, Ajahn Ek or Dr. Ek, right? I also prefer the last position, academic position like lecturers. That would be my favorite work. All right, today we are very lucky to have the professional scholars from well-known institutes in India. Our students, please be informed that I and Dr. Kampi been to Athens, the international conference in India, organized by Dr. Ashok's institutes last 6 years, I guess. And Dr. Ashok is very well known in pragmatics, discourse analysis, and other relevant fields. He accepted by the world scholars, and he annually organized the international conference in Pune, India. So if you have a good chance, you all are invited to take part in this conference. If you cannot provide a budget for yourself, Dr. Kampi will take care of this. All right, Dr. Kampi, he will pay for you the air tickets and the liquidation fees. All right, Dr. Kampi, his advices of Dr. Ashok when he did a PhD in India. So I think Dr. Kampi is very pleased to pay for you all in order to attend the conference hosted by Dr. Ashok. Okay, maybe next year. So I think it is a great and made session for you all to be with the well-known scholars from India. And please allow me to tell you one more thing is Dr. Ashok is our regular visiting professor at BRU. Whenever we are having the international conference, I think 5 times consecutively, he always contribute his academic support to our BRU for at least 5 or 6 years. And the latest conference held on 14 this month, he also came to help us as the peer reviewer and commentator as well. Ajahn Tian Pon Vipapon also present her paper in Dr. Ashok Thorat session, I guess. A lot of comments from Dr. Ashok and Ajahn Tian, very muntup sometimes. She sent a message to me in person. Oh, a lot of suggested points, but also very useful for me to improve my research, just like that. He told me like this. So I think now Ajahn Tian is good time for you to see Ajahn Ashok again in our session. And this is the first webinar that we having Dr. Ashok with us. And Dr. Ashok, please be informed that this is the first batch of PhD students in ELT under my faculty. And we are going to have the second batch in June. We highly hope to have different students from different countries, including Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos, and Thai are coming to have the courses with us in the second batch. And one more thing I would like to inform Dr. Ashok, and would like to have his academic assistant is we are going to have the international conference on 25th April. This is organized by the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, together with the Association of Politics of Kasetsart University. So I think we are going to have your Thai academic assistant again for the upcoming conference. And the last conference we are going to have, it will be solely hosted by our ELT program. So I just informed my student here that we are going to have the first international conference for our program in May. In May, yeah. So the exact date will be informed later on. I think the 3rd week of May, we are going to have the first conference. So please come and help us to carry out the academic contribution, not just related to my student, but also all scholars from different institutes. So at this moment, I would like to once again express my sincere thanks to our guest speaker today on behalf of the EU President, on behalf of HUSOC Faculty Dean, and the chairperson of the curriculum. Thank you so much for your huge contributions to our program, to our university. And we highly hope to have very effective and fruitful knowledge from your talk today. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Akkarapan. In fact, at the outset, I must thank your Honorable President, Dr. Malini, and especially Dr. Akkarapan, who has been so gracious and so warm whenever I meet him and whenever he needs me. So, Dr. Akkarapan, it's indeed a great pleasure for me to meet you, see you on the screen at least, and to interact with your students. Dr. Kamfi has been actually my student and a very dear friend. So you all deserve wholehearted thanks from my end. And let me tell you, Dr. Akkarapan, you've been doing so many things for developing a research ecosystem in BRU. I'm sure I've already uploaded on Facebook also. I'm quite sure that with all your efforts and the team that you have around you, you are going to be leaders in research in humanities in the Asian continent. And please take my help, assistance for granted. Whenever you need, I am there. Thank you very much once again for using so many good words for me.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, the Dean, and thank you, Dr. Ashok. Okay. Okay, before we start, can we turn on the camera and take photo together, please? Okay. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Yes, thank you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, I would like to introduce, the guest speaker for today, Professor Dr. Ashok Thorat, the Director of Institute of Advanced Studies in English, Pune, India. Dr. Ashok holds a PhD in English, and his research topic is Discourse Analysis of 5 great Indian novels. And this is published and referred to all over the world. 3 editions have been sold out. By Cambridge University Press is publishing the 4th revised edition. His area of specialization is pragmatics, communication, digital humanities, research methodology, and teaching training. For academic standing and his teaching experience, he has been teaching for 39 years at the undergraduate and postgraduate level in Pune University, Department of English and affiliated colleges. For research work, he successfully guided 36 PhD and 44 MPhil students in Pune universities. And he participated in 45 international and 130 national conferences. For publications, he published 7 reference books and 6 textbooks, prescribed in several universities at the UG and PG levels. For the international visits, he visited the UK, USA, Canada, Spain, South Korea, Thailand, Germany, France, Switzerland, and Myanmar for making presentations in the conferences and for giving invited lectures and speeches. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Ashok Thorat, please. Yes, Professor, please.
So should I take over now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Initially, I would like to pay my sincere compliments to Dr. Kamfirapa Bintanu, who has very thoughtfully selected the topic for my speech. It's intercultural communication from the perspective of discourse analysis. Normally, ELT experts talk about textual analysis and text and grammar and syntax and semantics and so on and so forth. And rarely they enter into the domain of discourse. And I'll tell you how important this is with the help of a very small and simple example. And then I'll proceed to my speech. Just imagine that I make an utterance like I am here now. It's a very simple utterance. I am here now. Small words, easy to understand. And anyone, anywhere in the world can understand this. I am here now. If you ask an ELT expert or a syntax expert or a linguistic expert the meaning of this sentence, I am here now, he or she will analyze it in a specific way. For example, this is a direct sentence with a subject and verb component, that is subject phrase and verb phrase. And I is a first person pronoun, stands for the speaker. And the meaning is there's a speaker who is in this place, here is this place, and now is this time. Do you think this is enough? Not at all. Imagine different possibilities now. When I say I am here now, I stand for nobody else but for Dr. Ashok Thorat. And here isn't in BRU, but virtually in BRU, even if not physically in BRU, virtually in BRU. And now is whatever time, but the message is very clear. That Dr. Thorat is going to talk about intercultural pragmatics. Why? Because the ELT webinar has already been announced by Dr. Kamfir Afab. And every person who is attending this webinar knows that there is going to be a discussion on intercultural communication. And therefore, I am here now means Dr. Thorat is going to speak about intercultural communication. Now tell me, in I am here now, you don't see the words intercultural communication. You don't see that Dr. Thorat is going to speak. Still you interpret it that way because of the context, because of the background, because the webinar has already been announced. And therefore, no sentence has meaning in itself. Meanings are to be explored from the background, from the context. And then only you understand the message completely. Otherwise, you miss it. That is the basic difference between proper linguistic or textual ways of looking at sentences and discourse way of looking at sentences. You can understand it further. Suppose the same Dr. Ashok Thorat goes to a hospital to meet one of his friends who is ailing or is unwell. And then Dr. Thorat says, I am here now. Does it mean that he's going to speak on intercultural pragmatics there? Not at all. I am here now in a hospital means, my dear friend, don't worry. I am here to support you mentally, psychologically, if possible, financially. So just don't worry. I am there to assist you in every possible manner. Please get well as soon as possible. So look, the sentence is the same. Message has changed. If you look at different possibilities, if I go to a police station, for example, and say, I'm here now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to assist the police in their work. But that is an assurance that if you need me as a witness, I am ready to be a witness and give you the facts and information that you need. So the same sentence can have different meanings in different places, spoken by different people and spoken at different times. Words are the same, dictionary meanings are the same, textual composition is the same, but meanings are different, messages are different. And this is what happens in real life situations. Life is so dynamic. Your social dynamics plays its own role in creation of meaning. And precisely for this reason, I've been paying my sincere compliments to Dr. Kamfirapa Vintanu for picking up this topic, intercultural communication from discourse perspective. In fact, the word discourse and discourse analysis are very close to my heart. I've been researching, I've been practicing discourse analysis almost for the last 4 decades. And therefore, I felt very happy when Dr. Kamfi told me that I have to speak on intercultural communication, but from discourse point of view. So what I'm going to do today now, I'll basically talk briefly about communication in my own way, because communication is also misunderstood by many people. So I'll just talk about communication in my own way for the first 3 to 5 minutes. Then I'm going to talk about intercultural communication, how to perceive intercultural communication, how to approach intercultural communication, the barriers in intercultural communication, and so on and so forth. And this will necessitate a discussion on the concepts of discourse, concept of culture, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about theoretical framework in intercultural communication and discourse analysis. And towards the end of my speech, I am going to tell you how intercultural communication and discourse analysis meet. And of course, you can ask me questions at any time whenever you feel like, because the audience fortunately is small and very focused. That is an advantage for all of us. So you can stop me anytime and ask a question or a clarification or whatever you need. So let us begin with communication. Communication is not just use of words or talking to each other. It's much beyond that. In fact, it's much more than a simple transmission of information. It is actually the mutual creation of meaning. Both the communicants, that is addresser, addressee, or listener and speaker, their endeavor is to create a mutual meaning, and both of them participate as equal active participants, not passive or listeners or just recipients. That simply means that information is not in itself meaningful, as a sentence is not in itself meaningful, because meanings emerge from contexts. Similarly, information in itself is not meaningful, because when I give you some information, it goes through my mind, gets processed cognitively, gets transformed, and then transmitted. When you listen to it, your mind is processing the information given by Dr. Ashok Thorat. You are processing in your own way, at your own cognitive level, and that information further gets transformed. And when you tell it to someone else, it's a transformed information. So this is how information in itself is not much meaningful. It is only when information is intended and interpreted in some way that it attains significance. For instance, if you are telling me about a movie that you just saw, you probably intend me to understand what the movie is about, and also something about your experience and evaluation of the movie. You pose the information in a language I know, use references to concepts and other films I might know, and in conveying your feeling, you assume that I'm able and willing to access your experience. For my part, I try to interpret the information in the way you intended it to, by using common meanings for words and concepts, and by recognizing both our common experience of similar events and the uniqueness of your personal experience in this particular event. So what are we doing when you tell me about the movie that you just saw? You are sharing your experiences, your feelings, your perceptions, your response to the film. And you and me, as a speaker and a listener, we are creating a common platform where we develop mutually agreed on meanings to whatever you've been speaking. So this is what communication is. And therefore, communication is, whether it is verbal or non-verbal, written or oral, is a very complex phenomenon. Even if it is simply defined as an act of sharing information, if you look up a dictionary, you will see this definition. That is, it's an act of sharing information. But the sharing involves several opportunities, several challenges, and several strategies. So it's not a simple business. It's a very complex business. And if successful, communication always works at 3 different levels. 1, building relationships. 2nd, sharing information. And 3rd, generating action. Now let us look at 3 levels carefully. First is building relationships. How does communication help build relationships? If you have read Robin Dunbar, a psychologist, he says language primarily evolved in order to fulfill the human need to gossip. It's a very interesting statement. To fulfill the human need to gossip. You know gossip. Gossip is actually a meaningful talk. And if you look at Shakespeare's great tragedies like Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet and King Lear and Macbeth and Othello, you will agree with me that all these plays of Shakespeare, very serious tragedies, they all begin with gossips. Either sentries or common men or laymen, they are gossiping. And what is gossip about? Gossip is normally about human beings. Who is the leader of your area? Who is the prime minister? In India, for example, we are quite obsessed with politics. Who is the cricketer who helped your country win the match? Who is your neighbor? How much he is earning, and so on and so forth. Gossip is about like this, you know, about such mundane kind of subjects. But gossip takes you into your comfort zone, because in gossip, all the information shared is desired information, and you are talking about familiar subjects. You're talking about subjects which are related to your life and daily routine. And as such, this gossip actually creates a comfort zone in which you are very, very, very happy. When you meet your professor, for example, or when you meet your, let us say, vice chancellor, for example, or when you meet a stranger, for example, you are not that comfortable. But while gossiping, you are extremely comfortable. And therefore, Dunbar is right when he says that language was developed in order to fulfill the human need to gossip. And this is how communication, the first function of communication, or the first level of communication, is to establish comfort zone and relationships. Relationships are established by introducing each other, by talking about each other, by talking about each other's favorite subjects, by talking about each other's relatives and friends and topics of interest. So this is the first level of communication, that is establishing relationship. Now, once this platform is ready, Once the comfort zone is established, once the relationship is developed, once you feel happy, comfortable, and confident, then the second level begins. And at the second level of communication, you share information. Now, sharing of information can be at different levels. Information itself pertains to a variety of areas related to your life and career and environment. It may be information about politics. It may be information about culture. It may be information about education. It may be information about medicines. It may be information about schooling. It may be information about market and anything and everything. For example, when I go to Bangkok, the first thing I ask my friends is, where is the best mall in Bangkok? Because I'd like to buy something. So he provides me information about malls in Bangkok. So information gives you ideas. Information gives you a clear picture of where to achieve your goals. Because information or pieces of information are tools. And these tools, if they are properly utilized or exploited or deployed, they help you generate action, take decisions. And that is the third level of communication, where you take decisions. Because each question you raise generates an idea. And ideas are the currency of the whole world, you know. Ideas actually help you generate actions, take decisions, select or reject, and so on and so forth. Consequently, communication that begins with introduction or creation of relationships is complete when it ends in generating action. So this is how all good communication, all successful communication operates at 3 different levels. And therefore, we should keep this in mind even while talking about intercultural communication or whatever kind of communication you are referring to. So precisely for this reason, communication is a process that is directly linked to the happiness and success in life. And you know very well, everywhere in the world, irrespective of nationality and culture and whatever, everyone in the world is running after happiness and success. And a lot of your happiness and success depends on how successful communicator you are. And this is how communication matters a lot. Now let us look at intercultural communication. In fact, I have my PPT to be shared so that you would find it easier to track me. I'll share my screen in just half a minute.
Yes. Okay. Yes, it's come now. We can see.
Is it visible?
Yes, yes, Professor. We can see
or
now.
Do you want me to make it full screen?
Yes, please. Yes.
Oh no.
Excuse me, Professor, is at the bottom, at the bottom. Yes, it look like a cup. Yes. No, near the middle one. No. Oh yes, we can see. Oh, it's okay, Professor. Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
I think I have done some. Oh, it vanished again.
Yes. We cannot see the. Yes, can see now. Yes, this no. Yeah, not this one. Yes, this one. Look like a cup.
I wanted to make it full screen actually.
Yes,
now it's
yes.
okay, right?
No, is the button is near 40%. Is next to 40% here.
Yeah, that's what I did actually. Now I would like to remove this window. Is the entire PPT visible or it is blocked by?
Oh, we can see it. Yes.
You can see the entire PPT, right?
Yes.
No problem.
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So this is communication. I have talked about these three levels of communication, or three levels at which communication operates. And now I'll move on to intercultural communication. Intercultural communication can be defined as the sharing of information on different levels of awareness between people with different cultural backgrounds. It's a symbolic, interpretive, transactional, contextual process in which people from different cultures create shared meanings. It is important to be aware that each culture may have different social conventions. American business partners, for example, prefer, and now I have given a table for this. These American business partners prefer small talk to build a relationship. And that is how I began with 3 levels of communication, right? So American business partners, they prefer to use small talk to build a relationship first, whereas Britishers may use humor, the third column. And Germans tend to get straight to the point without beating around the bush. That is direct approach. Thais, that is you people, on the other hand, think of asking what are considered rather personal questions in the Western world. For example, about your marital status or job. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm talking about you. So please feel free to correct me. Similarly, Americans like to use first names. As Dr. Akkarapon addressed me as Dr. Ashok, they would just call me Ashok, okay? No honorific, no designation, no full name. So Americans like to use first names while addressing others. While in Austria, titles should be used to avoid sounding disrespectful. Germans will want to shake hands, while people in Thailand place their palms together at chest level and bow instead, like this. Sawadee Kap, right? So this is how, from nationality to nationality, the conventions are different. And these are culturally bound conventions. In a business context, it is also interesting that different cultures prefer a different presentation style. Western cultures like Australia and the United States are more forward-looking and like to focus on potential future benefits of products and campaigns. In contrast, representatives from countries such as China and India will prefer to go over past achievements to establish credibility. This knowledge can make or break relationships and business deals. So imagine how deeply culturally rooted communication is, right? Non-verbal communication can be just as tricky to navigate as verbal communication. In many countries, giving a thumbs up sign like this is a positive expression that signals agreement. But in some cultures, such as Japan, Indonesia, and Latin America, it is considered offensive. So you cannot use thumbs up in Japan or Indonesia or Latin America. Similarly, eating with hands, that is your hands like this, is perfectly acceptable way to eat in Indian culture.
Yes, excuse me, Professor.
Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupt you. Could you please move the slide? I mean, change the slide, or is it still?
No, it's the same. It's the same. I'll change as I move on.
Oh,
but,
okay.
But I have less slides and more to talk about.
It's still the first one. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm talking about cultural diversity. Okay. So, since communication is the mutual creation of meaning and culture is the coordination of meaning and action in a group, it follows that intercultural communication is the mutual creation of meaning across cultures. This means that intercultural communication is the mechanism whereby people of different groups perceive and try to make sense of one another. While there is no guarantee that people will be respectful of the differences they encounter in this process, it is certainly a criteria of good communication that people seek to understand the intentions of each other in non-evaluative ways. For that reason, intercultural communication incorporates particular strategies that encourage us to attribute equal humanity and complexity to people who are not part of our own group. The most common tactical goal of intercultural communication is to inform one-way cross-cultural adaptations in situations such as teaching in multicultural classrooms, providing social services in multicultural communities, traveling for business or pleasure, and some kinds of international study. In those cases, sojourners need to recognize cultural differences that are relevant to short-term communication to predict misunderstanding that may arise from those differences and to adapt their behavior as necessary to participate appropriately in the cross-cultural encounter. Central to this application is having a good system for identifying cultural differences that are relevant to communication. Whatever system is used, the outcome of employing tactical intercultural communication is generally to decrease stereotyping of the cultures encountered, increase knowledge of cultural differences, and broaden the behavioral repertoire of the adapter. The most strategic application of intercultural communication is to derive the value of cultural diversity. This has long been the goal of multicultural societies, and it more recently is being touted by global corporations. After some mistaken hope that diversity in itself generates value, it is now accepted that cultural diversity creates the political but not the actuality of added value. The potential of diversity is to offer alternative perspectives and approaches to tasks, thus contributing to innovation and creativity. Now, what are the major barriers to intercultural communication? Given its complexity, it's not surprising that there are several barriers to intercultural communication. One of the main challenges of intercultural communication is ethnocentrism, which is the common but misguided assumption of a cultural group that it is superior to other cultural groups. And this is what is meant by the phrase race consciousness. You know, sometimes when you visit developed countries, for example, some people complain that there is race consciousness and so on and so forth. That is because of this ethnocentrism. Another barrier is assuming that other cultures are similar rather than different to your own. As a result, you might behave as you would in your own culture but end up causing offense or worse, simply because you are unaware that different rules and norms apply in the other culture. Finally, the most common barrier to intercultural communication is anxiety. When you are unsure what is expected of you or what to do, it is only natural to feel anxious. Your focus is then likely to shift to your feeling of anxiousness and away from the intercultural transaction taking place. As a result, you may make more mistakes than you would have otherwise and seem to be behaving awkwardly to others. Actually, all this discussion necessitates a proper understanding of the term culture and discourse. So I'll now move on to culture and discourse. But before that, I'll be happy if you raise some questions or generate some discussion. Are there any questions or comments, additions, suggestions from your end?
Yes, Professor, could you please summarize again about the three principles, the keywords of the three principles of building relationship through the international communication, please?
You know, whether it is intercultural communication or communication within your own culture or communication in your family or not exactly in family. Family communication is absolutely different. Intimate relationship is different. But anything beyond this kind of intimate relationship, all communication operates at these three levels. And three levels of building relationship or establishing rapport or developing a comfort zone. That is the first level.
Yes.
The second level is sharing information,
yes,
giving or taking as much information as is demanded, information about anything and everything that is intended or demanded. So this sharing is the second level.
Yes.
And information, as you know, is a very useful tool in the hands of mankind. That takes you on to the third level, that is generating action. Once information is passed on or shared, it generates ideas, and ideas actually generate actions. If you get an idea, you can launch a business. If you get an idea, you can put your child in a proper school. If you get an idea, you can visit a proper market or mall or whatever place you would like to go to. So it all depends on information. So second level actually leads on to the third level. These three levels are interconnected. And the third level, that is generating action, is the fruition of communication, is the accomplishment of communication, is the direct result of communication. And therefore, from establishing rapport to generating action, we go through three different phases or three different stages. And this is how communication operates through these three different stages. And this is more important in intercultural communication, because in intercultural communication, establishing rapport is very difficult, simply because you are not aware of the cultural differences. Your expectations in communication within a cultural situation are immediately fulfilled. But in intercultural situation, there is unpredictability, indeterminacy, uncertainty, and all these things lead to anxiety. And that's why I talked about barriers. And precisely for this reason, establishing a comfort zone or developing relationship or establishing rapport is one of the challenges in intercultural communication. But nevertheless, if you're open-minded, if you're ready to accept and understand, if you do some homework and develop your awareness about the interculturality, then it becomes easier for you to establish relationship. And when it comes to sharing the information, obviously the information shared in any intercultural communication is that information which is demanded, which is desired, or which is intended. For example, if I want to sell my product, yoga, for example, is my product, Indian product. I want to sell it to Thai people, then I'll purposefully talk about yoga at the second level, share information, talk about its usefulness, talk about its advantages for your immunity and so on and forth, and mental hygiene and so on and so forth, and will convince you to learn yoga. So, you know, it depends on your intention, and in any communication, intentionality matters a lot. So information is shared as per demand or as per intention. And then it goes to the third level of generating action. Generating action is just like seeking a desired response or producing something that both the parties desire or want. So action doesn't mean that you have to run somewhere, or you to fight someone, or you to do something, or you to enter into some physical act. It may be abstract action also, like decision making, for example. Or if you get convinced, that also is a concrete result of sharing of information. So there is always an impact, or in discourse analysis, we call it perlocutionary effect or perlocutionary uptake. Okay, so that is the result or action as far as intercultural communication is concerned.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's very clear, Professor. That's really clear. Thank you, Kap.
Yeah. So shall we move on to?
Yes, please. Yes.
Now, culture, everyone knows what culture is. So I'm going to talk absolutely briefly, but in my own way. The sense of culture used in intercultural communication is that of worldview. Culture is a generalization about how a group of people coordinate meaning and action among themselves. One way they do that is through institutions such as religious, political, and economic systems, and family and other social structures. But underlying these institutions is a habitual organization of how the world is perceived and thus how it is experienced. These habits are often referred to as cultural assumptions and values, and they occur in all groups, not just national societies. In general, intercultural communication focuses on this worldview aspect of culture, and not so much on the institutions of culture. Human communication is conducted by people, not by institutions. The concern of any study of communication is therefore with the way that human beings organize meaning. We all are influenced by the institutional structures that we internalize as part of socialization, and understanding those institutions may give insights into how we habitually organize our perception. But in the end, it is our human worldview that generates meaning, not the institutional structure. An essential element of culture is the boundary that distinguishes us from them. Every human being belongs to groups defined by boundaries. Typical boundaries are those formed by nations or states. For example, Americans, Japanese, Nigerians, these are the national boundaries. Or by ethnic groups composed of people with a particular tribal, national, or regional heritage. For example, Kurdish, Jewish, Russian, African, European, and so on. Within a boundary, people communicate with each other differently than with people outside the boundary. The difference may or may not involve using a different language or jargon, but it always includes different kinds of agreements on meaning and action. A cultural boundary indicates a greater amount of interaction and need for coordination among those enclosed by it. In the case of some ethnic heritage, Family interaction may be primarily responsible for preserving the cultural agreements, but for many ethnicities, there is also likely to be greater interaction with other members of the ethnic group. For example, Chinese Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans. This is particularly true if color is involved, since people naturally distinguish themselves by color and thus may group more easily with people who are physically similar. But the ethnic boundary is a much more powerful cultural indicator than the color boundary, since it rests on a deeper set of institutions. So for instance, Black Caribbean Americans may experience prejudice similarly to Black African Americans, but that fact does not obviate the significant cultural differences between those two groups. In multicultural societies, national and ethnic boundaries are often combined to indicate membership in both groups. For example, African Americans, European Americans, Malay Singaporeans, Russian Kazakhstani. In addition to these common distinctions, boundaries are also formed by geographical regions within or across national boundaries. For example, Southern Italians, South Indians, Western Europeans, Sub-Saharan Africans, and so on. Also importantly, the boundaries of organizations often indicate very strong and distinct cultural worldviews. Now look at these worldviews. For example, corporate cultures, police culture, armed services culture, peace corps culture, and so on and so forth. Within organizations, different functional groups such as accountants, service people, engineers, detectives, etc., are likely to share a culture. Within societies, cultural boundaries may also include gender, sexual orientation, generation, and other grouping. In these and other cases, the culture is generated not by any particular belief or behavior of the group, but by the need to coordinate meaning and action among more frequently interacting people. So, for instance, gay culture is not about homosexuality per se. It is about how people communicate with each other, with whom they are more likely to be in contact due to shared sexuality. In the same way, some religious or political groups can generate culture, not because of their particular beliefs, but because the people in the groups are spending more time with others who agree with them. One of the most important features of interculturality is the humanizing effect of worldview. Focusing on the unique experience of a cultural worldview is a direct antidote to an objectification and exploitation of people that is based simply on their color, gender, or heritage. Intercultural communication necessitates understanding the unique experience of others as the key to coordinating meaning and action towards some common goal. Another argument in favor of intercultural communication is that culture must be understood relative to its own context. Culture cannot be judged against an absolute standard of civilization, and therefore, people of one culture are not intrinsically superior or inferior to people of another culture. They are just different. Now let us look at the concept of discourse. Discourse is a process by which we create, relate, organize, and realize meaning. Discourse comes from the Latin discursus, which means a running about. This illustrates the basic idea of relaying information through the natural rhythm and flow of language. The study of discourse is entirely context dependent because conversation involves situational knowledge beyond just the words spoken. Oftentimes, meaning cannot be extrapolated from an exchange merely from its verbal utterances, because there are many semantic factors involved in authentic communication. The study of discourse can involve matters like context, background information, or knowledge shared between a speaker and hearer. Not all discourse is the same. However, literary scholars break it down into 4 main types, and this you must have read somewhere. Those 4 types are argument, description, exposition, and narration. I will not go into the details, but there is other school of thought that breaks literary discourse down into categories of expressive, poetic, and transactional. You know, these details you can always find out anywhere. Discourse is crucial to how readers understand the world the author is trying to create, but its function is much larger in scope than any one literary work. Discourse serves to inform and shape how the individual sees the world and how they form a baseline for responding to different concepts. At its most basic, it may seem like discourse is only communication, but communication is how we interact with one another, with ourselves and with our societies. Written communications may be novels or poems or non-fictional books, letters, diary entries, or emails are records of how a society shares information. They provide insights into why we think the way we do and how we connect with people and ideas. They influence behavior, relationships, and social change. In fact, we also need to understand the distinction between text and discourse. In fact, I began my speech with this, but you know, ultimately I wanted to come to this point, and then I'll move on to discourse analysis and intercultural communication. It's especially the developmental aspects. Text is usually a written form of communication information, which is a non-interactive in nature. In contrast, discourse can be spoken, written, visual, and audio, and communicating information is interactive in nature. So interactivity is the breaking point. Text is non-interactive, discourse is interactive. A text is a linguistic object. That is an independent sequence of sentences that is coherent and more or less cohesive. The example I gave at the beginning of my speech, I am here now. If you analyze it using the textual analysis methods, you will look at it as a linguistic object. The coherence of the sentence is the result of their common topic and logical order. The cohesion is determined by how the sentences are linked together, either by pronouns or structure words, use of tenses, and so on and so forth. The meaning of a text is the product of the meaning of its composing sentences and the way they're ordered and linked together. Whereas discourse is a linguistic act. So look at the difference between linguistic object and linguistic act. And precisely for this reason, the sentence is belongs to the textual register and utterance belongs to discourse register. Sentence is a product of grammatical rules, the sequencing and syntagmatic relationship and so on and so forth. Whereas utterance is the product of a speech act, which is intentional and goal-oriented. Linguistic act can be looked at as a word or a sentence or text used for communication. Discourse is a communicative action or event for which the speaker or writer uses a piece of language, just like playing badminton is an action for which the people use a racket and a shuttle. When a text is used for communication, it always appears in a particular communicative context, both linguistic and non-linguistic. This context determines the text's ultimate interpretation or meaning. And as a corollary, text analysis studies the structure and meaning of texts as abstract constructs devoid of their context, whereas discourse analysis studies how linguistic objects are used in context and how this context determines the meaning they acquire. In other words, meaning emerges from context. A text can be defined as an object that can be read without whether it is a work of literature, a lesson written on the blackboard, or a street sign. It's a coherent set of signs that transmit some kind of informative message. In literary studies, text usually refers to the written material. We use the term text when we are discussing novels, short stories, and dramas. Even the content of a letter, bill, poster, or similar entities that contain written material can be called a text. Michael Foucault defines discourse as systems of thoughts composed of ideas, attitudes, courses of action, beliefs, and practices that systematically construct the subjects and the worlds of which they speak. So discourse involves social conditions, which can be specified as social conditions of production and social conditions of interpretation. So text is a product of communication. It's a product rather than a process, a product of the process of text production. And discourse is a process of realizing, process of activating, process of emerging, process of exploring meaning, organizing meaning. This distinction is useful for us whenever we talk about intercultural communication as well. And that is why I established this distinction from my own point of view. Now let us look at the history of development of intercultural communication studies. Why and how we have reached to the stage that we are today as far as intercultural communication studies are concerned. Actually, the study of intercultural communication has its origins in the United States Foreign Service Institutes, that is FSI, Foreign Service Institute strategic decision towards the end of 1940s to embark the teaching of foreign languages to Americans. The first course was titled Understanding Foreign People, the course undertaken by FSI. Anthropology was part of the program from the beginning. Edward T. Hall, an anthropologist, was associated with these programs from the beginning. By 1960, Edward Hall expanded his focus on the practical aspects of teaching diplomats international business and other applied language teaching spheres. In his 1976 book, Beyond Culture, the title of the book is Beyond Culture, Hall argues for the nonverbal, unstated realm of culture. This is the first deviation from the focus on pure anthropology. So in 1940s, we deviated from anthropology, proper anthropology, to the unstated realm of culture and the dynamism of culture. In the 1970s, universities around the United States developed intercultural communication programs. For example, Arizona State University created a curriculum in intercultural communication in 1976 in order to address the needs of the state's large Hispanic population. Shared border with Mexico, more than 20 American Indian tribes, and a complex, diverse enrollment. While field of intercultural communication began as an interdisciplinary enterprise with multiple theoretical perspectives, approaches began to solidify by the late 1970s. Erwin Goffman, Molefi Kate Asante, Eileen Newmark, Cecil Blake, and William Goodikunst are a few names that can be mentioned in this context. The 1989 Handbook of International and Intercultural Communication co-edited by both Asante and Gudi Kunst, is a landmark in this respect. And then in 2009, there was a conference on intercultural dialogue, in which a lot of sessions were spent on intercultural communication. So this is how intercultural communication came to be recognized as an independent discipline of study by 2009. Now I'll talk a little bit about discourse analysis, and then we'll think of how discourse analysis and intercultural communication merge. And then I'll take up a few examples, but I think that can be after coffee break. So let us complete discourse analysis and then break for coffee. And then we'll discuss how discourse analysis perspective enriches intercultural communication. And then I'll take up a few examples for analysis so that we end with some kind of practical work. While now I'll talk about discourse analysis. While intercultural communication, I mean development, how in discourse analysis developed. While intercultural communication began as exploration of the practical topic of how to reach people to communicate well in contexts where they were interacting with people from other cultures, discourse analysis roots were in the general exploration of the relationship between language and culture. The first use of the term was by Jelig Harris in his 1952 Discourse Analysis, the book called Discourse Analysis. Harris is a linguist best known as striving for a rule-oriented approach to grammar. Though he adopted Saussure's notion of paradigmatic and syntagmatic relationships in his treatment of discourse, Harris was also influenced by Edward Sapir. Irving Goffman, a well-known sociologist, has also made a phenomenal contribution. He elaborated a series of concepts that have had long-lasting impact on the field of discourse analysis. Leading linguistic anthropologists like Dale Hymes, John Gumpers, and Susan Irwin Tripp, all instrumental in the development of the ethnography of speaking or ethnography of communication, were associated with Goffman at Berkeley. This group also included the early advocates of studying intercultural communication within the field of communication. Discourse analysis also has strong European roots. The philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein, you must have heard this name, who talked about language games, began exploring the nature of language games at Cambridge in the 1930s and 40s. In fact, the most revolutionary in this line is J.L. Austin, who in his book called How to Do Things with Words, published in 1962, talks about, he gives a very radical statement like, speaking is doing. This is for the first time that he gave such a kind of slogan, and people all over the world were alarmed. But this thought has been carried forward by H.P. Grice and Searle by adding to speech act theory. A number of American discourse-oriented scholars reflecting the growing awareness of Black culture, language, and civil rights argued against deficit theories and this and that, but they produced the discourse analysis, especially Michael Stubb and Coulthard produced the discourse analysis textbook in 1983 that focused on similar issues. One more name worth mentioning here is Van Dyck from Holland, who was also instrumental in institutionalizing the field of discourse analysis. Like Harris before him, he was interested in exploring the patterns of language at a higher level than the sentence. His 4-volume Handbook of Discourse Analysis, published in 1985, presented perspectives of different disciplines, linguistic components of discourse, conversation analysis, and this actually influenced many discourse analysts there onwards. Like others before him, Van Dyck also was interested in intercultural aspects of discourse. I mentioned these developments mainly because in the next part of my speech, I'm going to visit them again and again when I talk about how discourse analysis meets intercultural communication. And then when I take up a few examples for analysis. So I'll stop here for some time. If you have any questions, you may ask. Otherwise, we can break for coffee for about whatever time the organizers permit.
Yes. Does anyone have the questions about the session? Please feel free to ask the question to Dr. Ashok, please.
Sir?
Yes.
Okay. If we are interested in doing research in discourse analysis, nowadays, and also in the COVID-19 pandemic, in what direction, all the trends of the research in discourse analysis should be?
Look, there are two things that you need to keep in mind. One is the process of discourse analysis, the tools of discourse analysis, the theories of discourse analysis, the process of discourse analysis. This has already evolved, and that is what I mentioned. So my, for the last 20 minutes or so, I was a bit theoretical, but this theory does help you develop a framework, which we normally refer to as theoretical framework for any research in discourse analysis and intercultural pragmatics or intercultural communication. And as far as topics are concerned, you can pick up anything. I'll tell you an example. If you don't mind, I'll take an Indian example because that is happening around me. But how interesting this can be, you can realize. One of my students is doing research on increasing domestic violence during Corona period. And what she has done is, she has picked up the instances of discourse that happens within families and how this discourse had changed from pre-COVID and then COVID situation. And then it has been reported through blogs. It has been reported through some stray write-ups. It has been reported in media. And this is how she has picked up. She has recorded certain things, and then she's analyzing those discourses. So discourse analysis is basically a very applied and practical field in which you can literally pick up anything that is related to discourse. So you can take anything. For example, another of my research students in my research institute is doing a kind of discourse analysis related to LGBTQ ... They have their own in-groups and close circles. They have their own ways of communicating with each other. And she has been interviewing them, recording their interviews, recording their dialogue, recording their conversation, recording their communication, and arriving at some facts, some data, which she's going to analyze using the discourse analysis techniques and tools. Another of my research student is working in the field of migrant labors. Because after the first wave of COVID was over in India, majority of the temporary manual labors, they fled from metropolitan cities to their small towns. But while leaving the metropolitan cities, they were left with no transport because the whole country was almost closed. Roads were closed. Consequently, they had to walk. And during this desperate walk, whatever transpired among them, she's trying to recreate that. So it's an imaginary discourse actually, but based on the real things that happened during that desperate walk, she's recreating that and developing an application which is digital in nature. So she's entering into digital humanities using discourse analysis techniques and the COVID background. So what I feel is, any kind of research that you undertake today in the year 2022 has to be multidisciplinary and has to utilize insights from different fields, experiences and expertise from different fields, converge these things in order to achieve some concrete results that have relevance to the present day. That is how we look at research.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, next, my question is, okay, if we would like to analyze passages, okay, any passages, okay, what should be the minimum number of passages we collect to our analysis? Yes.
Well, if you are making discourse analysis of passages, I think you should have at least, depends on the length of the passage. If the passages are, let us say, 1 full page or 2 pages, you should have at least 50 passages or maybe more than that. In fact, when I analyzed novels for my research, I picked up 5 full-length novels and made a microscopic study of those novels. But then, you know, here what matters is data collection. In the passage, what are your concerns? Are you going to focus on intercultural communication? Are you going to focus on cultural nuances? Are you going to focus on sociological aspects? Are you going to focus on interpersonal aspects? Are you going to focus on thematic aspects? Are you going to focus on paradigmatic relationships? So, or are you going to focus on images, whatever, right? So depending on that, if you have number of parameters, then the passages can be less in number. If you have less criteria or less parameters, then the number of passages have to be more. Because anyway, all said and done, at the international level, PhD or doctoral research is supposed to be more complex than master's research. And more complex simply means that you have to develop your argument in about 80,000 words. And while developing an argument over 80,000 words, you need a substantial data. And how substantial is determined by the focus or hypothesis that you have in your mind. So I would say it all depends on your parameters or criteria or your destination, and that is how the number can be determined. Right.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions, please, before having the break?
Yes. We also have Dr. Min, Dr. Namamin, a good friend of Dr. Ashok, Thorat, with us here. Dr. Min, will you say hi, hello to our guest speaker today? Yeah, yes, our big boss.
Oh,
good morning, Dr. Ashok. Right.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How about you?
Okay, fine. Right. How about the situation, COVID situation in India?
Now we are quite comfortable because the number of instances have gone down. And we believe that the third wave is over for India. And we don't see the fourth wave coming up. So we feel quite comfortable now. And it's time for you to visit India.
Okay. Actually, we really want to visit you and really want you to visit us, right? Actually, okay, this year we plan to go to India, but okay, because of COVID-19 is very bad in Thailand. Yes. But I think that is okay. And Dr. Ek will take us to India to visit you, and Dr.
Yeah, we will visit Dr. Ashok, but Dr. Kampi will pay for us.
Yes,
in fact, Dr. Akkarapon, there's a good news. I'm planning to organize a conference only for research students,
That's good.
In the month of May or June.
Oh, I see. That's good.
And priority will be given to IAC alumni and IAC friends.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
okay,
we may not.
Yes. If okay, we can go. Okay, Dr. Kampi will okay bring us. I mean that bring the dean, Dr. Akkarapon, and I, and our PhD student, if they are interested in.
And you would be surprised, Dr. Akkarapon, I'm going to make experiment during this conference. Most of the presenters and lead speeches will be by my own research students. I mean, institute research students.
Wow, great.
That's good.
Because we have some very competent research students who can guide the new or fresh research students. So they will be showcasing their research projects, as well as they'll be talking about research methodology.
That's good.
And then there'll be senior guides sitting around who will be just coordinating.
Excellent.
Okay.
So it will be a conference led by research students of the institute, either alumni or present research students.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. But just you know that I never go to India.
Oh, then this time you must come.
Yes. Yeah.
And India is quite
อาจารย์วิภาพรอาจารย์เทียนอาจารย์ยุทธจักร are you ready to accompany Dr. Namamin, who didn't have never been to India before, but Dr. Kampi, he is a regular visitors of India, so he can provide our trip. Yeah.
Yes,
Professor, I would like to go.
Dr. Nawawi.
Yes.
I will follow.
Yeah. Ajahn Tien and Ajahn Jutajak, you look like a cat, so I think you can visit India. You look like an Indian people,
Really? Because
including
someone...
Tirapapa as well. Yeah, look like an Indian people.
I would like to try good cake.
Ajahn Mon as well here. Okay.
Ajahn Somyong look like an Indian from the south, like what's my saw, it's my soul or somewhere.
How about this suggestion, Dr. Akkarapon, if we have a special panel for Thai researchers?
Yeah, that's good, sir. Yes, there will be
a special panel for Thai researchers, so that you also acquaint others. I mean, we will have researchers from at least 10 to 12 countries.
Oh, that's good.
And you can showcase your research during that panel.
Yeah, that's good.
Research at BRU.
Yeah, yes. We are very pleased to join the sessions organized by you, sir. What about our friend from Myanmar, On Marvin, Mary, and Yimon Shu? Are you ready to visit India?
Yes, Professor.
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
Dr. Kampi, are you ready to pay for us?
Sure.
From my side, I'll say that I'll waive registration fees.
Oh, thank you so much.
And,
because Dr. Kampi, he is the secretary of the curriculum, so that's why he was taking care of everything, including the budget, I guess. You take a break for a while, MC?
Yes, yes. We will have 10-minute breaks for coffee. Yes.
And before we break, please tell me, do you want me to plug some gaps in the next session? Because my plan in the next session is to talk about specifically discourse perspective of intercultural communication, number one.
Yes.
And then exemplify through a couple of examples. The examples obviously will be taken up from literary field, but then I'll try to illustrate what I mean by discourse perspective. Do you want me to do something else? Dr. Kamfi can tell me.
I think it's covered already, sir. It's covered already. Whatever in your mind and it's going to deliver to us all is covered already. But please bear in mind that this is not your this just of course your first time on webinar, but not your last time. So we will keep you with us, and don't speak everything. Keep something for the next webinar, sir.
Okay, one more thing, Dr. Ashok. I would like to see all slide. Okay, maybe you can send you Dr. Kampi and then let him to make it to be PDF, because we saw just only your first frame.
First slide, first frame.
Yeah, first frame, right? First slide. I just see international communication, and your name, right, and your center, and then
I think he's going to present all these slides after coffee break. Otherwise, Dr. Nomin, he will not be with us. So this is the secret to keep Dr. Nomin with us.
I'll forward my PPT to Dr. Kamfi.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, yes, everyone. Okay, let's have a 10-minute breaks, and we
Yeah,
will
just,
come to continue after the break. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
After 10 minutes. see. I see. Oh. Right. बरोबर. Oh. Very good. आपका सिखाई. कुठून? मुंबई. बरोबर. हो बरोबर. I see. हा. अरे वा. Oh. Adams केलं का प्रोजेक्ट? कधी रिझल्ट कधी येणार होता? 8 दिवसात. तुम्हाला भरायचं बिल आता. हो. पण नंतर IQAC तुम्ही घेतला असेल ना काढून बऱ्यापैकी. हो. अरे वा. नाही ए ग्रेड तर तुम्हाला मिळणारच आहे. फक्त आय एम इंटरेस्टेड इन CGPA. रोल जरा काय म्हणजे तुमचं फेदर मध्ये फेदर होईल ना तुमच्या याच्यात. हो तुमचं मनपूर्वक अभिनंदन. And let's नाही तुम्ही कष्ट फार घेतले तुम्ही. आणि मधल्या काळात सुदैवाने काय झालं तांबेनी लक्ष घातल्यामुळे बऱ्याच गोष्टी सुधारल्या. तुम्हाला फ्रीडम मिळालं जरा. बरोबर चालेल मग मी आता माझं भाषण सुरू करतो परत. आय गेट बॅक टू यू. ओके.
Yes, everyone, welcome back to the session, to the webinar, Intercultural Communication in the perspective on discourse analysis. Again, one more time, yes. And for the first session, okay, we have listened to the presentation by Dr. Ashok about the intercultural communication, how it comes and the importance and the discourse analysis. Okay, and okay, for the second session, Dr. Ashok will talk about the discourse analysis more, right? So please welcome him again, please.
Yes, let us begin with the last point on this slide. The example, our dear sister is departing for foreign. I hope you can see my slide.
Now we see the first slide. Yes.
Yeah, discourse analysis, right?
This is the intercultural communication.
Oh.
Yes.
Why it has been?
Professor, please stop sharing first and then share again.
Yeah,
yes.
I think I'll have to do that.
Yes. Stop and share again and select the one that you would like to show. Yes, to share. Yes. Articulations as a social practice. Yes. Yes, now we see the screen that
but then
show.
I'm not being able to change the slide.
You can use the keyboard, the arrow in the keyboard to
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, but it's not letting me change the slide. Should I once again stop sharing and?
Yes, stop sharing and open the file and then see and then share screen and select the one on the screen. Yes, because the Zoom program will let the one who share the screen select the file before share it.
Can now see your screen. You can see my screen, but why has it become static? I'm not being able to change the slide.
You cannot change you cannot move, right? Move.
Yeah. So how do I do that?
Okay. So let's try stop sharing and then open the file, open the PowerPoint again. Yes.
I think you have to share the screen, not the the PowerPoint. You have to choose sharing your screen. Huh?
On the screen, the first one of the option, right? The screen.
Screen gets shared, but the slides don't move, you know. Anyway, I actually had just 3 slides left.
Okay, Professor, let's try. You can share screen and then choose the first one, screen. Choose the screen, not the PowerPoint. Yes. So you can share the screen only. Yes. Choose select the screen. Yes. The screen.
Now it's working. Hello.
Yes.
Now it's working.
But yes, but we cannot see. Please go to the share screen.
Is it okay?
You can go to the share screen and then it will show the window up on the screen, and then you can select screen. Yes. Screen and share. Yes.
Is it okay?
Not yet, Professor.
Oh, some problem is there. How about it now?
Not yet.
Is it okay now?
Not yet, Professor. Are you sharing the screen now?
Yeah.
But is we cannot see it. It doesn't show anything yet.
Oh.
But we can see you. We can see you. Yes. Really
you
clearly.
can see me, but not the slides.
Yes.
My God.
Could you please try to share again? Go to share screen. Yes. Go to share screen and then select screen. Yes, and share. Yes, it's coming. Yes.
Coming.
Yes, I yeah, we see your screen now. We see your screen.
Yeah, but I can't see it now. But can you see the slides?
Yes, but we see, yes.
Is it
yes,
okay?
we see the slide now. Yes. Discourse analysis.
Yeah.
Yes.
So finally, so it's all set, right?
Yes, discourse analysis. We see.
Let me begin with the last example. Our dear sister is departing for foreign. Now, I'd like to explain how discourse analysis works. So this is a kind of demonstration of discourse analysis, establishing links. Whenever we talk of discourse analysis, we talk of iceberg. You know iceberg. There is an iceberg theory, which I'll try to explain in simple words. Iceberg is like a cone, right? There's a tip and then the whole submerged portion. And in discourse analysis, we believe that words are like tips. And with the help of those tips or signals, we need to establish links in the context, that is the submerged portion. And by establishing links, which is also considered an application of coherence theory, that is, you are establishing coherence, establishing links in the context and exploring meaning. So I'm going to illustrate the same with the help of this example. Our dear sister is departing for foreign. Now, this is a very strange line. Anybody in the world will be stunned by the use of words in this line. But you would be surprised. This is the first line of a very famous poem written by a very famous Indian English poet. The name of the poet is Nissim Ezekiel. And Nissim Ezekiel, Mumbai or Bombay based English poet, knew English very well. Impeccable English she used in his speech and in his writing. And this kind of poet is writing a poem. The title of the poem is Pushpa T.S. Goodbye Party to Pushpa T.S. is the title of the poem. Goodbye Party to Pushpa T.S. Pushpa T.S. is the name, and is a goodbye party to Pushpa T.S. And a small village, entire village has gathered, and they have offered a goodbye party to Pushpa T.S. because Pushpa T.S. is going abroad. But look at the words that are used in the very first line of the poem. Our dear sister is departing for foreign. Now this is a chorus. Entire village of something like 300 or 400 people is singing this chorus. And the first line of the chorus is, our dear sister is departing for foreign. Miss Pushpa T.S. is referred to as dear sister. Now, dear sister, imagine all the 300 people are referring to her as dear sister. Actually, in Indian, or I believe even in Thai context, kinship terms like sister, brother, father, mother, uncle, aunt, they are used in extended sense. These are not blood relationships, but any young girl in a village is sister for the whole village. Any old man in the village is uncle for the whole village. Any old woman in a village is mother for the whole village. This doesn't happen in United States or UK or Canada or Australia. They call sister, brother, mother, father only on the basis of blood relationship. So our sister, that is sister of the whole village, needs to be understood only in the context of India, where we use kinship terms in extended sense. And this dear sister is departing for foreign. Now look at this. She is sister for the whole village. She is dear for the whole village. And she is departing for foreign. The word departing has negative connotations, as you all know. If you look up a dictionary, the word departing has very sad connotations. Something similar with foreign. The word foreign also has negative connotations. And still, this English-bred poet is using these words with dear sister. Now look at the history of these words, departing and foreign. As you all know, English came to India along with the Britishers. Britishers ruled India for 150 years. They established railways, postal system, administrative system, judiciary system, and used English in all these government systems. So they raised railway stations everywhere in the country. And at railway stations, there were schedules pasted on the walls or mounted on the walls. And those schedules of arrival and departure of trains and arrival of trains, all the villagers were familiar with the schedules. So for them, the word arrival and departure became a part of their lives. So anything going away from the village is departure for them. Whereas if you look up a dictionary, departure is meant for death. But for Indians, especially less educated Indians, departure is meant for going away from the village. That is traveling away from the village. And that is why the word departing. So word departing here is used by the poet in order to recreate the history of the spread of English in India. How English spread in India. It spread along with railways, railway stations, railway schedules. Otherwise, there was no way out. We were not taught English during British Raj for a very, very long time. And that is how words get institutionalized. Something similar with foreign. During British Raj, Indians going abroad meant going to England and coming back. That was the only possibility. Going abroad did never mean going to America or Australia or any other country, because British government did not permit us to travel to other countries. So going abroad for India means going to England and coming back. And in those days, anybody who visited England and came back, England or UK, and came back was referred to as foreign returned. And the foreign returned word was looked at with a sanctity. It was a very holy word in the Indian situation, because 1 out of millions of Indians got an opportunity to visit England and come back. And that's why he used to be referred to as foreign returned. So the word foreign returned is treated with huge respect even today in villages of India. I, for example, when I go to my small town, many people ask me, are you foreign returned? I say yes, and they are ready to touch my feet, or they respect me so much because of this word foreign returned. So look at this now. Our dear sister is departing for foreign. So the word foreign arouses respect. The word departing indicates going abroad, and she is none other than dear sister. So these 4 or 5 words talk about Indian psyche, history of English spread in India, Indian association or Indian mind, Indian culture, Indian mind, and Indian way of treating people, like extended kinship relationships and so on and so forth. So, you know, the whole cultural background, historical background, linguistic background, social background, including economic background. Everything is evoked by these 4 or 5 words. This is how discourse analysis proceeds. Discourse analysis actually examines social and cultural aspects of language use. The very first line, and that's what I have illustrated now. It treats language use as a social practice, as a cultural practice, and that's what this example indicates. Next example, oh, again it got stuck. Yes. Here is another example, again from Indian background, but easy to understand, so don't worry. I would just like to acquaint you with the interculturality, or how culture plays its role in discourse analysis. Now, this poem has 2 stanzas. And first stanza is nothing but a list of names. These are typical Indian names. And the second stanza is nothing but list of acts. Look at the first stanza. The names are Mamta, Kamla, Vimla, Kanta, Shanta. That's all. So there are 5 names here. And in the second stanza, there are 8 acts: cook, wash, bear, rear, nag, wag, sulk, and sag. So this is nothing but list of acts, right? I'll read the poem now. I no longer feel I am Mamta Kalia. I am Kamla, I am Vimla, or Kanta, or Shanta. Second stanza. I cook, I wash, I bear, I rear, I nag, I wag, I sulk, I sag. Now, how to make meaning of this now? For you, it may be a big question, but for Indians, it's very easy to understand. And the first line is the most important line here. I no longer feel I am Mamta Kalia. Now, the names Kamla, Vimla, Kanta, and Shanta in the first stanza, these names are associated with typical lower middle class females. Typical lower middle class females. So look at the cultural background. If you look at Bollywood, for example, Indian Bollywood, there is no actress with these names. No actress in Indian Bollywood has this name like Kamla and Vimla and Kanta and Shanta. These are the names given to typical lower or lower middle class females who are either home workers or who are maid servants. They are financially, socially, absolutely deprived. These kinds of females take these names like Kamla, Vimla, Kanta, and Shanta. And what are the duties they normally perform? What is their routine? What is their daily routine? Their daily routine is nothing but cooking, washing, bearing children, rearing children, nagging, wagging their tail before the husbands or patriarchal monsters in their families. They sulk and they sag. So this is their life. So the first stanza talks about their social financial status, and the second stanza talks about the acts institutionalized in Indian society which depict their plight. And the first line, I no longer feel I'm Mamta Kalia. This word no longer is a breaking point. No longer indicates a breaking point. That is, before this, she was Mamta Kalia. After this, she no longer feels that she is Mamta Kalia. Now, Mamta stands for affection and love. Indian word Mamta stands for affection and love. So before marriage, people looked at her with affection, with love, with respect. but no longer she is Mamta. Now, where is this breaking point? This breaking point is marriage. After marriage, Mamta is reduced to Kamla, Vimla, Kanta, Shanta, like any poor woman who has to perform the institutional acts of cooking and washing and bearing and rearing and nagging and wagging and sulking and sagging. So look at the hazardous impact of marriage in most of the cases of lower class women in India. So this poem, just by listing names and listing acts, is talking about a sad plight of lower class females in Indian society. This is how each word is looked at as a tip of the iceberg, and is links are established with the context, the cultural context, the entire societal context, institutional context, and this is how meaning emerges. So discourse analysis is a process of developing meaning or arriving at meaning by exploring into the context and establishing links. Is that clear?
Yes.
And now the last example. Now this example I'm giving, which actually is contrary to what I talked in the previous example, right? Now in this example, you will see that this is common to all the cultures, whether it is American culture, Indian culture, Thai culture, or any other culture, with a little bit of a variation. Actually, this example is taken from an American novel, but I have extracted it, and without providing much of a context, I am going to deal with this now. Now, these are two friends, Jill and Jane. And these two friends are gossiping with each other. As Robin Dunbar said, development of language took place for fulfilling the need of gossip. Actualizing that need, these two girlfriends are gossiping with each other. Now, what are they gossiping about? It's very clear that they're gossiping about a man that Jill met. Now, the whole conversation, I'll read it once and then talk a little more about it. Jill says, today I met someone. As you know, someone is an indefinite pronoun, but nevertheless, it's highly suggestive, extremely suggestive. It is suggestive because it has some social context. And that is why Jane instantly responds, good for you. Now, despite the fact that you may be Thai or Myanmarian or Indian or American or anybody, why do you think Jane responds, good for you? The most probable explanation is Jill and Jane both are unmarried, young, beautiful girls. And therefore, meeting a man and getting married must be their prime concern. This is what the society tells, your social knowledge tells you, this is what your cultural knowledge tells you, this is what your background tells you. And precisely for this reason, today I met someone, this someone is interpreted as a man, a match. And that is why Jane pays a compliment, good for you. Fine. Now Jill says, he is a police officer. So information is added. What is the information? Police officer. Now, the moment a new piece of information is added to this dialogue or this situation, the response changes. Jane now says, are you in trouble? Now, from where this trouble has come in? That is because police is an institution in any society of the world which is normally associated with trouble. You don't go to police for lovemaking. You don't go to police for dining. You don't go to police for medical help. You go to police only if you are in trouble. This is called social salience. your social knowledge. During socialization, you acquire these norms, you acquire this information, you acquire this sensibility. And that is why the moment Jill says he is a police officer, the response of Jane is, are you in trouble? So the first two utterances indicate that they are on the positive note. The next two exchanges indicate that they are absolutely on a negative note. Like a Hindi film, which begins with lovemaking and then a villain comes in and then the lovers are in trouble. There is fight. And then at the end of the film, there is once again reunion. This is how Bollywood films normally begin and end. Something similar happens here. Then Jill says, oh no, I'm not in trouble. That simply means that she is in love with police officer. And the obvious response of Jane will be, which I have not typed here, but anyone can guess. The obvious response of Jane will be, congratulations, go ahead. Am I right or no?
Professor?
Yes.
Yes. From the example that you show, from the first sentence and the second, the first response, good for you. And are you in trouble? So can we assume that Jane respond by using her experience and her knowledge.
Yes, past knowledge, experience, memory.
Yes. So
because your mind is full of knowledge, information, memories, preferences, priorities, and responses pop out of your back of your mind, right?
So it depends on the interpretation of the speaker. Is that
yes?
Right? Yes. Okay.
Because dialogue, communication, whether intercultural communication, is always it always depends. It is always a cognitive process. You know, everything is processed in your own mind. I'll give you a very simple example. Suppose there is a 5-storied building. Newly constructed 5-storied building, and 3 persons are watching the building. One is an architect, second is a civil engineer, and the third one is a dustman. 3 persons belonging to 3 different professions. They are watching the same building. So stimulus is the same, right? Stimulus is the building. But 3 different persons are encountering that stimulus, that is building. Do you think that the architect, civil engineer, and the dustman will look at the building the same way?
No, they will look at different dimensions.
Correct.
And perspective.
Why?
Yes.
Because at the back of their mind, there is different knowledge, different set of information, different past memories, different priorities, and that is why their responses will be unique. This is what happens in communication. This is what happens in intercultural communication as well. Because any response pops up from your mind, and this is called salience. So what happens in the first exchange, for example, today I met someone, good for you. What was the salient here? It was the need to get a match or to get married, and a recognition of that need resulted into the response, good for you. So what is salient here? The need of a young, beautiful, unmarried girl. So that need was indicated and it was understood by Jane. Right? This understanding of this need is nothing but common knowledge, shared knowledge, social knowledge, cultural knowledge. Right? The mind is full of this knowledge. Whereas in the second exchange, the police is a social institution. And this social institution is associated with trouble. This is social knowledge. So this is an example of social salience. And that is why trouble came in. Right? It naturally came in. it is not unnatural, it is not abnormal, it is not unexpected, because everyone knows what police is associated with. This is common knowledge. So there is social salience here. And this is how communication happens. Communication is never linear, straight, and simple. It's a very complex business. It goes forward, comes back, you make mistakes, you repair, you correct, you modify, you alter, and finally you succeed. So it's an experiment, right? And that is why it's a dynamic process. It is not a static process like making sentences as per rules of syntax. It's a dynamic process which is subject to verification, alteration, modification, correction, repair, and so on and so forth, depending on the context, the needs, and needs also are dynamic. There are needs which are predetermined, which are indicated in the intentions of the speaker, and there are needs which arise at the time of communication. So this is how discourse analysis works. And this discourse analysis approach to intercultural communication is the most valid approach to be taught at university level. And precisely for this reason, after 1990, especially, when there was a beginning of formal recognition of the interconnectedness of the fields of intercultural communication and discourse analysis, that is the landmark in the entire history of intercultural communication. So I will sum up. Intercultural communication is a field that has taken a variety of theoretical and methodological approaches to the question of how do people from different cultures interact. And discourse analysis is a theoretical and methodological approach to specific examples of communication that can be used to analyze a wide variety of questions related to intercultural communication. So this is my conclusion, and I'll be very happy to take up a few questions if you have any, or additions, suggestions, discussion, whatever you like. Thank you very much.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the question and answer session. So you are invited to raise the questions about the content presented by the guest speaker. And then may I remind all of my friends, don't forget to answer questions after the webinar. The questions assigned for you all to be answered are as follows. What is the role of discourse analysis in teaching intercultural communication? And the second question is, how do you apply knowledge obtained from the speaker's speech to your current research? Thank you for your attention.
I think I have already answered your question at length. Discourse analysis is a process of analyzing a discourse, and discourse itself is a process-oriented model of a language use, which is context dependent and which is dynamic in nature, which is culturally bound. And precisely for this reason, discourse analysis and intercultural communication are interlinked, intertwined, and any intercultural communication needs to be looked at as a discourse, and therefore the insights of discourse analysis can be applied to any situation in intercultural communication, and especially the problems that arise in intercultural communications like ethnocentrism, or let us say anxiety. These problems can be overcome if you treat it as a discourse and try to look at it from this dynamic perspective.
Yes, thank you very much for your clarification and your answer, Professor. Okay, are there any other questions from the PhD student and the participant, please? I think Ajahn Jida will ask some questions because it's her interest and her area of study. Okay. Okay, anyone, please.
Yes, yes, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor. From your talk today, I've got a lot of knowledge about intercultural communication. In my mind, I think it's very important for our students, especially for EFL classroom. So if we want to develop intercultural communication in EFL classroom, which way or which approach do we English teacher have to engage to develop our students' intercultural communication competence? Professor?
Well, if you think of approach, then there are many approaches available, including task-based learning of English these days, etc., etc. But I'll give you some practical hints. You know, whenever you think of English as a foreign language, you are conscious or aware of the fact that you are treating it as an outsider language. And when a Thais to learner, for example, tries to acquire English or learn English, is bound to face certain problems which are universal again in EFL situation. The first of them is obviously mother tongue interference. And mother tongue interference is very common everywhere, even in India, even in Philippines, where we have large number of users of English. This is very common. Secondly, when you look at English as a foreign language, you are looking it for limited purpose. Maybe, you know, those who would like to go abroad and work in a situation where English only works and so on and so forth. Not as a language that is likely to be used in your situation as well. So there is no support from the background. And there is a problem of exposure as well, lack of exposure. And lack of exposure is something that results into inadequate practice. And as you all know, no language can be mastered without adequate exposure and without adequate practice. One simple example, if you pick up a child of, let us say, 6-month-old or 8-month-old or a year-old and drop it in any country, maybe Russia or America or India, the child within 3 to 4 years will pick up the language where the child has been dropped. That is because of exposure. Child may not have teacher, child may not have EFL classes, child may not have formal learning teaching environment. But the exposure is there, the practice is there, struggle is there. This does not happen in EFL classes. So what you as a teacher of EFL needs to do is to provide maximum exposure to the learners, number one. Two, to provide them maximum opportunities to make errors and improve. And number three, to dissociate, at least partly, if not fully, the mother tongue and the language, the target language, so that thinking happens in English, articulation happens in English. There is no translation or transliteration. I think these guidelines should help you arrive at a strategic teaching of EFL. And then approaches, of course, you can pick up depending on the level of your students, depending on the need of your students, depending on the duration of your course. Is that okay?
Yes, okay. Thank you, Professor.
Yes, Professor, may I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Yes, I would like to know, when we do the research about intercultural communication, the sources of the data we can do it with the documentary, like writing or the recording spoken words? Yes.
I would prefer a recording of live data, because any communication, including intercultural communication, any communication is a live and dynamic process. The data, written data, either in novels or plays or films or whatever, this is static data. And static data is normally contrived, controlled, and presented according to the intention of the creator of that data. Whereas live data is natural, spontaneous, and therefore it may have some loopholes, gaps, and everything, but then that corresponds to real life situation. And therefore I would prefer any researcher in intercultural communication to gather live data. So record it and then listen to it and analyze.
Okay. Yes, that's clear, Kap. Thank you. And may I have another one? Yes.
Yeah.
As you present in the first session that the cultural assumption or the group of the culture, yes, may divide by the color, the value, the geographical area, the sexuality, belief, or gender. So if we do the research about intercultural communication, so what number one, okay, what size of population should we study, and what norm can we use? Yes.
Now again, this depends on your focus and your intention. You cannot do research on all the aspects of intercultural communication for one doctorate, because it's a very vast area. So you obviously has to narrow down to, let us say, aspect of culture or ethnicity or geographical diversity. So have one single focus to begin with, number one. And once your focus is determined, then you decide what should be the number of your, let us say, population or subjects or dialogues or conversation hours or something of that kind. That should be commensurate to achieving your goal. You know, whatever your goal is, you have your research question, you have your hypothesis, you have your aim and destination in mind. So in order to reach that destination, or in order to fulfill your goal, or in order to achieve your objectives, you have to determine the number of subjects or population. It is very difficult to give a common answer, because this number and need differs from research to research to research to research. I would just say adequate number.
Yes, so it depends on the population or the target group that we would like to study. Yes.
Yeah.
I see. Thank you. And yes. Okay. Are there any other questions from the PhD student and the participants?
Yes. Excuse me, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, okay, Dr. Ashok, I'm teaching in the areas of hotel business. So if I want to do some research on discourse analysis in the areas of hotel, can you recommend what should I study? I mean, have any idea which part of the hotel business should I study?
First of all, I'll tell you an example of my own research student who completed her research about hotel industry in discourse analysis. What she did, she gathered information about something like 40 receptionists. You know, every hotel has a reception.
Yes.
And there are trained reception manpower in every good hotel. And they have to talk to clients or visitors or customers who come from different nationalities. So they face certain problems. For example, if an American comes, he speaks very fast. And then the receptionist has to request her to repeat. If a Iraqi or Irani comes, he has a Persian accent or an Arabic accent, which becomes very difficult to understand. And most of these 5-star and 7-star hotels, they attract customers from different nationalities. So she studied the problems of these receptionists, interviewed them, and arrived at certain solutions which can be given to those receptionists during their training period. And you would be surprised, her thesis was appreciated by those hotel owners. And she herself got a job as a trainer in hotel industry now. So you can do discourse analysis, especially in communicative situations that you come across in hotel industry. There are different levels of communication in hotel industry. Housekeeping staff, for example, has different needs. Though they don't communicate much, they also have to face some questions and answer some questions. They need a special training. So they need to be taught intercultural communication. They need to be taught how to communicate, how to participate in discourse. And therefore, as a researcher, your insights into discourse analysis will help them or help the management train this manpower. It may be housekeeping, it may be reception, it may be other parts of the hotel. So depending on which area you are going to pick up, you can conduct a research in discourse analysis.
Okay, thank you. But I think about how to collect the data because if we need the real data, mean sometimes we have to record, right?
Data can be collected two ways. One is recording.
Yeah.
And second is you can apply a questionnaire, do some survey, and collect as much data as you can.
Do you mean like the DTC one, right? The discourse competence task to get the answer, but like that's set the situation and ask them to answer, right?
Questionnaire is perhaps a good form, a good tool. Developing a questionnaire, keeping all their needs in mind, all their problems in mind, and then actually recording some conversations, and then cross-checking with the responses in the questionnaire.
Yes.
This might help you arrive at some logical development of your argument.
Okay, thank you very much, Ka.
Right.
Yes. Do you have any questions so far?
I have one question. I'm not sure if it's possible. Can we do like discourse analysis like by using literature?
Yes, in fact, I have done that for my PhD.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So drama, perhaps plays are the best source for this kind of static data. But it's very interesting because plays use dialogue on a very large scale. But you can also analyze poetry. That is why I gave you an example from poems, you know.
Yes.
Like Our Dear Sister is Departing for Foreign was from a poem. Or I Am No More Mamta Kalia, that also is a poem. So you can analyze poetry, you can analyze plays, you can analyze novels, you can analyze short stories, you can analyze letters, you can analyze blogs. So there's no limit.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Ajahn Somyong or Assistant Professor Somyong, he studied in India before. Yes, I would like you to exchange with our guest speaker. Please, Ajahn Somyong, where do you study in India? And
but he's not visible. Oh yes, now I saw him. Right. Somyong is my good friend, you know.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah. For me, I study in Mysore University, and I went to Pune University for 2 times. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, that time I present my research paper. That is a good place in India. Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
Mysore is a historical place.
Yes, Mysore is a very, very good place. The climate is very cold all the year. That is good place to stay and learn there. Just for this section, your present is very useful for us or for the Thai student or PhD student here. I don't have the question to ask you, but I want to say thank you for you. Did you remember this journal?
Oh, yes.
Yes. This journal I went to present my my paper. That paper I used to submit my academic position in assistant professor. Now I have got that position already because of
that's great.
this journal.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Because of this article, make me got this position. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to know that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Somyang, and it was so nice to listen to you.
Yes,
Dr. Ashok, your journal is accredited by ranked by UGC. That's correct. What UGC stand for?
In fact, UGC is University Grants Commission of India.
I see.
This is a body which controls the quality or controls and develops quality among higher education institutions in India. Now, UGC has come out with special lists of recognized journals, or they call it list of approved journals. Now, Asian Journal for English Studies and Asian Quarterly, they appear in the list of approved journals by the UGC. But 2 years back, they have come out with another list called CARE.
Oh, I see.
CARE list of journals. And these 2 journals don't figure in the CARE list of journals because they have some different criteria there. They mainly accept journals for CARE list which have been indexed in Scopus and Web Science.
I see.
Yeah. And these 2 journals are not indexed in Scopus, so they have not been included in the CARE list. And these days, CARE list is valued more than the list of approved journals in India.
So, are you planning to submit your paper for Scopus Index journals in the near future?
Yes, really, we are making some background preparation for that. But then UGC in India has given another guideline that journals like these, which are peer reviewed and are international in the real sense of the words, they have their own definition of international, which is circulated in at least 5 different countries. There are contributions from authors belonging to 5 different countries. The editorial board consists of at least representatives of 5-6 different countries. So they have their own norms. And these journals can be accepted by Indian universities without referring to CARE list. And our journals are recognized by more than half the Indian universities now.
Oh, so, wow, that's good.
So there is no urgency of complying with other conditions. because we believe that our journal is meant for our own research students. They provide a very good platform for publication, and that serves the purpose.
Ajahn Somyong, you are really lucky to have the paper published in Dr. Ashok's journals. Congratulations. Wow, that's good. That's wonderful.
Yes, are there any other questions from the participants? Because if you have no question, I think we can finish earlier because it's almost 1 now.
Oh, yes. Just 5 minutes left, right?
Yes.
That's good. It was nice interacting with you all, and I like the questions that you all raised. If there are any gaps left, you can always email to me or talk to Dr. Comfy, and he will liaise between you and me and get the clarifications. I'm sure he would love that job.
Okay. Yes. May I check that the Vice President is still here with us. Assistant Professor Dr. Namamin ครับตอนนี้ยังอยู่ Are you still here? Please. I don't think he is here, so may I invite the Dean ครับถ้าอย่างนั้น Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the session by Dr. Ashok Thorat, the Director of Institute of Advanced Studies in English, Pune, India. Okay, on the title Intercultural Communication in the perspective on discourse analysis. Okay, under the PhD ELT program, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Buriram Rajabhat University, and I'm sure that you got some information and a lot of knowledge. Yes, and now is auspicious time. May I invite Associate Professor Dr. Akrapon Neermaihom, Dean Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Buriram Rajabhat University, to deliver a thankful message to the guest speaker, Dr. Ashok Thorat, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. MC. Actually, Dr. Namamin, as the curriculum committee, is supposed to give a thankful message to our guest speaker today. Unfortunately, he was engaged with another meeting. He's a busy man, all right? He's busy man, big man, and big body as well. Dr. Namamin. Okay, on behalf of the curriculum committee, BRU, I would say that this is the one of the best tremendously successful webinar carried out by our well-known scholars. And I'm very certain that all of my students, including the participants from, I think from Surin and from Thorat, also took part in this webinar. I quite certain that they all gain a lot of knowledge, a practical way of using the pragmatics and discourse analysis for their current research. So on behalf of the curriculum committee, the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, and also our BRU, we would like to thank you very so much, our guest speaker today, for your very insightful and informative talk. We highly hope to have you again and again in a hybrid format, both online and on-site. All right, and please stay healthy. But you look very healthy, younger than Dr. Kampi, your advisee, I guess. Dr. Kampi is getting old. Yeah, so Dr. Ashok still healthy and looks smart. So keep fit, sir. And
thank you.
Let's see if the situation of COVID-19 is getting better. All of us will come to visit you in India. And you also will be invited by us to give that's a very special talk on site at our campus in the near future. So once again, thank you so much, my student, for your energetic participation in this session. And also I would like to tell all of you, please join me in giving a big round of applause to our guest speaker today.
So nice of you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. See you next time. Stay healthy and be safe from COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. You too.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much ค่ะ
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, the Dean, Associate Professor Dr. Akarapon Nermehom for your speech, and Assistant Professor Dr. Kampirapap for your preparation and very important questions, 2 questions that we have to answer. Yes. Mr. Dean, do you have anything to talk?
I will let you have a very delicious lunch. Enjoy drinking coffee and gansha marijuana for 1.5 hours, and then we come back and have a small meeting. I have about 3 issues to talk to you today. What time do you think? At about 2:30 or what? Ajahn Silapapa, you always busy. Ajahn Tien always enjoy things at her big house compound, Raj house compound. All right.
Yes.
What time is it? Ajahn Chida, 2 or 2:30?
30 is okay ค่ะ
2:30, no? 2:30. I will see you. Ajahn Kampi and Dr. Min also, if you are available, please join this meeting. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch.
Yes.
See you at 2:30. Bye-bye. ขอบคุณครับ Take care. Enjoy. สวัสดีครับ
ครูเทียนแอบกินข้าวแล้วบอกไม่ได้ยินเสียงค่ะ